Welcome back, Sethbling here. In some of the recent snapshots for 1.8, Mojang has added some cool features, like armor stands and no AI mobs, and you can do some pretty cool stuff with that. So in this video, I'm going to show you some of the stuff I've done. I made some, well, basically sculptures. So the first one here, this is something I saw on Reddit, and this was kind of my first thing that I wanted to try out, so I put a sword in a creeper's head. This is a no AI creeper, and there's an armor stand here that's invisible. I'll show you later in the video how you can do this sort of thing on your own, but for now let me just show you what I've done. This is my next sculpture. I call it blast mining, and you can see we've got kind of like a TNT cannon over here shooting an arc of TNT, and I'm using a command block to create particles here. But the cool part is all of the exploding blocks outward, and they're kind of in random directions. Looks almost like one of those animations that you would see from one of those animation YouTube channels. So the first one is something I got from Reddit, and I saw today that there was a very successful post on Reddit inspired by this build. I did this in a live stream, so people got to see the build before this video came out. And so today on Reddit there was a build a lot like this, and the creator said it was inspired by me. So I get stuff from Reddit, but also you know, I inspire some Reddit posts too. So yeah, this looks pretty cool. I think you got some diamonds too, kind of flying out, and yeah, just frozen TNT. Looks pretty cool. Over here next I've created like a little battle scene. So we've got me and Good with our swords interlocked, and I have my shield or banner or whatever here. He's dual wielding. He's got a gold sword in his left hand. Of course, from behind, Chidi Nebris is leaping to strike Good, and I really like the positioning here and the legs, how they kind of look like they're flopping out. And he left behind some goodies that just kind of fell out of his pockets, I guess. And then up here, Etho's ready to drop the anvil. He's just kind of positioning it, and he's got a sword on his back, which also looks pretty cool. And so yeah, I'm really happy with this fight scene. I think it looks really neat. And then over here, I've got here's Notch pitching a fastball to me, and I'm ready to try and hit it. I've got my stick and my bat, whatever, and then here's home plate. So there's some really cool stuff you can do, and I'll kind of show you a little bit about how it's done. So this uses a lot of commands, but this is not survival. This is vanilla Minecraft. And let's see. Let's find a nice clear open area. So this uses the armor stands feature. So if I just summon an armor stand, here we go. We get an armor stand. Now normally armor stands have gravity, so if I summon it up here, it's going to fall down onto the ground, etc. Now, once we've got an armor stand, there's some cool things we can do with it. I'm going to use the new entity data command, and I'm going to use this weird text that is basically going to find an armor stand within 5 blocks of me, and it's going to do some entity data stuff. So we can do some things with this. Since there is an armor stand within 5 blocks of me, I can turn on its show arms property by doing this, and then it has arms. And now if we give it something to hold in its hands, let's give it, I don't know, a torch. So there's a torch. It's holding a torch in its hand. So you can give it other things by just right-clicking. Actually, let's try something. Well, I'll kind of show you, I guess, maybe how I did the sword thing. So let's put a sword in his hand. Now there's some other properties you can do. You can do no base plate, and that'll turn off the base plate. You saw there was a base plate here. Turn it back on. It's just for comparison. And that's what I did for these guys. I turned off their base plates, but you will notice they still have the wooden arms. There's no way to make artificial arms for armor stands. So you can turn off its base plate. You can also turn off gravity. So you saw it fell when I summoned it. So this guy now has no gravity. So if I TP the guy, so I'm going to use the same kind of commands. Oops. And if I teleport it up by 5 blocks, it'll just float in air. And this is how you can position things by using the no gravity tag. And I can even make it invisible, and so that it only shows the items that it's wearing. So there we go. Now it's invisible. So now we've got a sword floating in midair, And okay, so what can we do with this? Well, there's a couple things. We can, let me turn it back visible so that we can see what's going on. You can change its rotation using the same command. This entity data command is really useful for this sort of thing. So if I just use 0f, 0f, that means rotation of 0 on the x-axis, or about the x-axis, and 0 about the y-axis. And that's what it's already at. But if I change this first property here, I can rotate it to different positions. There's 45 degrees, here's 180 degrees, and you can see it actually kind of has a good animation. But you can rotate the whole armor stand, but you can also rotate the individual parts, and you saw that over here. I basically posed the legs and the arms. The head is looking kind of down. You can see that more clearly on Etho up here. He's definitely looking down. And so to do that, I'm going to come back over here. Let's actually give this guy a head. So if I want to give him a player head, I'm going to summon a head, one head, so that's what the 1 is for. 3 is for the data value for players. And then skull owner, and I can give it any player that I want. Let's use dinner bone. Maybe I need not summon, give. I'm supposed to use give here, not summon. So I'm going to give myself a player head. Yeah, I'm using the wrong syntax. It's skull. Give Sethbling skull 1, 3, skull owner, and then the name of the player. And there we go. So now I have Dinnerbone's head. I can put it on the armor stand by right-clicking. So yeah, that's just kind of useful to be able to see some of the position stuff. But now, okay, so let's go back to the entity data command in order to kind of position some of the things. So there's a pose tag. So in here we can give various poses. So we'll use a head, and then you'll notice I'm using square brackets for this, for the rotation things. So by default it's at 0, 0, 0. Or it's close to that at least. But we can rotate it. So if I try, say, 20, 0, 0, and the F here stands for float, don't worry about it, but you need it. You need it if the command's gonna work. So I can rotate his head downward or upward. Let's put it back at 0. I can rotate it left and right. Here it's 20. I can do it bigger values. I can have his head facing backwards. I can use negative values, whatever. So I could. If I set up a thing, I could probably have his head rotating in a circle, and it would look really creepy. You can also rotate, kind of tilting left and right. So he's kind of like looking curious. Negative 20. You could do some really silly stuff. I mean, I guess that's not that silly with this particular head, but and you can do combinations of them. So if I did like 20 and 20, it'll look down and to the right, etc. So you can do that with the head. You can also use other things like right arm. That's the arm carrying the sword. I can rotate this 20F, 30F, 40F. I don't know, I'm just using kind of random values. You can see I'm able to move the arm about by doing this. 60. Let's do like negative 20 here. So he's holding up the sword now. I don't know. So yeah, so the different things you can use are head, right arm, body, left leg, and right leg. So if I do left leg, let's do 10, 0, 0. I can like move the left leg around. 60, 0, 0. He's like about to kick a soccer ball. I don't know. The body one looks pretty silly, and you'll notice I can pose each of these independently, so I don't have to have the whole command with all the rotations for everything. Body is pretty silly though. 40. Let's try. Yeah, because it detaches from the legs when you rotate the body. So I'd recommend if you're going to play around with the body and you want it to look like an actual player, that you use just the middle one here, because this one is the middle one is kind of the rotation of yeah, basically it's not going to detach from the legs. But yeah, and you could put armor and stuff on his parts. So that's how you position a body. And let's just give him a chest plate or something, just to show you what I'm talking about there. So you can give him the chest plate and whatever, and that's what I did with the guys in these sculptures. And then the last thing that I want to show you is how to do these blocks. And because they look kind of cool when they're off in random directions, they look like they've really been jumbled up. So to show you how to do that, I'm going to summon a new armor stand over here. So summon armor stand, and need the 3 tildes here. Those are the position relative to the player. And then I'm going to give it no gravity. And here we are. Actually, so this guy, this is what I want, except I need him to be wearing something on his head. So to give him something on his head, I'm going to use this equipment tag, 2 brackets, and then I'm going to have 5 of these empty squiggly brackets, except in the 5th one, I'm going to put an ID for a block. So you can use, say, diamond ore. Whoops. Whoops. And so now we can see we have an armor stand who's wearing diamond ore on his head. And this diamond ore block is actually a little bit smaller than a regular diamond ore block. So set block, you can kind of compare the size. It's just it's like maybe 2/3 as big in each dimension. Anyway, so I've got this guy. He's got a diamond block on his head. I can just make let's see, use this entity data command to make him invisible. And then all we see now is the diamond block. It looks like a floating diamond block. And so that's the gist of how you do it. And you can pose the diamond block, rotate it around by using the same pose feature just to pose the head. So if I pose the head with this command, I can do 45, 45, 45, and it'll be this in like a different orientation. And so that's how I did all the blocks for the blast mining sculpture over here. The TNT here, these are all, I guess I could have just used regular blocks for these, but these are all actually armor stands with TNT blocks on their head. And yeah, basically the game will render any block on the armor stand's head. And so you can get floating blocks like that, and you can put them in any position. The home plate here has kind of a floating snow layer block on an armor stand's head, and that's how I did the home plate. And this one over here is just a fireball. This is not an armor stand. And I guess the last thing I want to show you is how to do the creeper. So I mean, you could see how I could position the sword, right? Or basically, if I turned the armor stand invisible here and took away the chest plate and the head, you would just see the sword floating in midair. I could pose the arm until it's in the right rotation and then teleport the armor stand around by small increments until it's in just the right position. And that's exactly how I did the sword on Etho's back, and also the sword in Good's left hand. The creeper over here, this is not an armor stand. This is actually a creeper. The way I did that, again, very simple. Summon creeper, need the 3 tildes, and then just no AI : 1 in the brackets. And you have a creeper. And he can't move. In fact, if I summoned it way up here, he's not going to fall or anything. And he'll just stand there. You can like hit him and damage him. In fact, if I grab a flint and steel, I can even like cause him to explode. But he's not going to move, and so that's how I did this part of the sculpture. Anyway, hopefully you found this kind of useful or interesting. I think the sculpture, there's a lot of potential for sculptures. I've seen a lot of stuff on Reddit that looks really, really cool. And yeah, I mean, you could even use this to do animations by doing all of the posing and teleporting and stuff with command blocks. And so you can make like full animations in a really cool style, I think. And that'd be pretty neat. Anyway, hopefully you learned something. That's about it. Thanks for watching.